And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now is my congressman. I love saying that. Congressman Scott Garrett from the great state of New Jersey. He, of course, is a Republican. He is on the Finance Committee. He's also chairman of the Congressional Constitution Caucus. Hello, sir.
Greetings, and it's good to be with you. Thank you so very much.
Well, it's always great to talk to a friend, and I appreciate you coming on. All right, in your capacity, and we're going to talk about what happened with the nuclear option being averted in the Senate yesterday, and you rightfully feel that this was just a skirting the Constitution, but just doing it a different way. But in your role as chairman of the Congressional Constitutional Caucus, let me ask you about what's been going on here with the Trayvon Martin verdict. In the aftermath of the verdict, I might have expected Sharpton and Jackson and Emmett Till to be put in the same vein as Trayvon Martin, which to me is just disrespectful to Emmett Till and what it represents. But when Eric Holder goes out there and says, "I'm troubled by the verdict," and I know you are too, when the prosecutor who lost the case goes on national television and says he's a murderer, I mean, what's going on here?
No, I think that is, well, they're not living up to their roles, I guess, Steve. But then should we be surprised with regard to our Attorney General, because he has never lived up to the expectations and the role and the position that he was appointed to and confirmed to by the president. No, once you have been acquitted by a jury and found not guilty, that is not the place of any official, prosecutor or otherwise, or attorney general or otherwise, to step in and say they have a different opinion on this. Because, look, he still has, the attorney general is being asked to do what? To continue the investigation of these cases, which is also, some would say, unheard of as well.
Yeah, and they're also, they had a conference call reportedly on Monday where the Justice Department, the FBI, and civil rights groups and groups with a political interest here, and they were all told, basically, find me anything. Right. Find us anything, the Justice Department allegedly said, that we could use, in a case against George Zimmerman. I mean, this is a kangaroo Justice Department, and it's frightening.
Two takeaways I get from this whole thing. One is dealing with the rule of law or the lack thereof, and that's what you're seeing now, and that you're explaining now with regard to this administration and the Justice Department. And in so many other areas we've seen out of this White House a disregard for law that makes the United States what it once was, a pinnacle of democracy and freedom and liberty throughout the world that the rest of the world could look to say this is where the rule of law is always abided by, and we should try to aspire to it. So that is one problem. And the other problem is just the way that everyone focuses on this, I'll call it tragic circumstance, because someone died and it is a tragedy, and yet all those same so-called civil rights leaders that you just mentioned a moment ago, where is their outrage? Where is their running to the microphones? Where is any of their clamor for justice in all of the other murders that we are seeing going on in Chicago and inner cities and elsewhere? Shouldn't they be focusing on some of those at the same time, or to the same extent, or even more so than what they do on this one, and this one only because it's politically expedient for them to do so?
I couldn't agree with you more. All right, now in your capacity as chairman of the Congressional Constitutional Caucus, again, you issued a statement yesterday after the Senate reaches a deal to avert the nuclear option, and I read it, and I said, sitting next to my colleague, I said, so the Republicans caved again. Yeah. And he said, yeah, basically just different wording. I mean, so Harry Reid and the Democrats threatened to do something, change the rules of the Senate, probably illegally, and to avert that, the Republicans said, oh, okay, you could have what you want, just don't change the rules. And you say that it was a de facto nuclear option that Reid used, and to me it was blackmail.
Yeah, and it is disappointing, and now the day later, when you begin to read some of the comments by those who voted in favor of it, you begin to scratch your head. Look, how did the deal come down? The deal came down by saying, okay, we're going to look over here at the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board. We understand that entity has existed for years, but we don't like the way you appointed two guys to it, so we want you to withdraw those. Then we're going to look over here at the CFPB, Consumer Protection Financial Bureau, which, as Republicans, we're totally opposed to and find it unconstitutional. And we also really don't like the guy that you appointed there, but we'll let that one stand. That is the one that's going to have a devastating impact upon our economy and going forward. And for the Senate to have, for Harry Reid to take this action and the threat is wrong, and for the capitulation that we have seen here is also, as you said, leaves some people scratching their head.
Yeah, and so, but this is what it is, right? I mean, this is what the leadership in the Senate decided to do, and guess who I am told brokered this? The great brokerer, Harry Reid, John McCain.
Yeah, the two of them, I guess, got together and agreed to it, but they were not able to do it without other people, coming around them and supporting it. But, as we often say, what would have happened if the shoe was on the other foot? And the deal would not have been brokered then. And hopefully in 2014, 2015, if we do take back the Senate, I'm wondering whether the Senate Democrat minority at that time, Harry Reid, will he be so willing to cut the same deal when we want to try to move things through the Senate at that time?
Yeah, right. Well,
yeah, right. Yeah,
good luck with that. All right, now two quick things here. Well, not quick, but Chairman Bernanke testified before your committee today.
Sure.
And basically, if I'm correct, and I'm not a financial expert, what I took from it was basically status quo. Basically, things aren't good enough for us to stop with the pumping up the market and buying the bonds. But when we get there, we could stop. So, I mean, what did you get out of Bernanke's testimony today?
No, I think you hit the nails on the head. I mean, one of my takeaways was when he made the comment. I wish I had the exact quote in front of me, where he said, "Our asset purchase programs have made the government money," meaning all these bond buying programs that he's engaged in have made money. Well, if that's so good and that's such the way we should be going, then I guess we should take the Federal Reserve and go from their $3 trillion balance sheet and make it a $300 trillion balance sheet. Let them buy up bonds continuously, and they can fund the government for us.
Right, we'll make more money. Right,
we'll make up more money. We'll wipe out the deficit and then the debt in several years. But that's not the role. They shouldn't be there saying, patting themselves on the back and saying, "Hey, we're making money." They should be saying, we've really gone further than any of the creators of the Federal Reserve ever dreamed that they would be with all their quantitative easing. And the other point to take away is that no, it's not market fundamentals that is creating the volatility in the marketplace right now, going up and down like you see so much. It is the actions of the Fed. People are looking there and uncertain what they're going to do tomorrow. That creates the volatility and so the uncertainty in the marketplace.
All right. Now, health care. Was he asked about health care? And then let me also ask you about health care. I know you're voting today. You're going to vote to dismantle the whole, cancel out the whole health care plan. But my question to you after you answer about Bernanke is, why don't you guys, and when are you guys, and will you guys vote to defund part of this? Say, we're not going to give you the funding for the IRS to do this. When will we see concrete action from the Republicans in the House saying, you're not getting the money?
No, I agree with you, and I supported efforts to do so. What can I say? So Republican leadership in the House does not see that as a strategy, and here's, I'm talking for them, not saying that I agree with this. The idea is if you say you're not going to put X number of millions or billion dollars in this bill or that bill, then what happens? Well, the president will say, "What? I'm going to veto the bill." In which case, the funding for all those programs, or potentially the entire government, runs out, and then you come to the proverbial threat of a shutdown. Now, you and I have talked about this in the past, and I would say that at certain issues that are constitutional or otherwise, you should be willing to go to that line and be willing to take that step. In other words, willing to shut down government over certain principles that are very important.
So are you telling me, Congressman, that there are no plans among the leadership of the Republican Party in the House to withhold funding for parts of Obamacare, as many of us were led to believe, and which would result in probably a confrontation with the president if he vetoed it, but if it were passed, would result in real dismantling of health care, that the Republicans do not want that fight and will not go that route? Is that what you're telling me today?
Well, I can't speak for leadership. All I can talk to you is what history is.
But has there been any indication, any talk that this will happen?
No. I mean, the Obamacare has been in place for a little while now, and we've gone through several appropriation cycles, and that has been, an avenue that some of us have supported that we go down, but it has not been received positively as the approach. to shut down the government. Look, you go all the way back to when the president first came in. That would probably, in my book, was our best shot of drawing lines in the sand. And as you moved away from that, as far as Obamacare goes, there's been less willingness to even have that discussion, despite a few of us still constantly saying, this is an important issue.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I thank you. And Senator, maybe one day. Congressman, as always, thank you very much for joining us, sir.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.